Hey, what's going on, guys? Pete here with MixBetterNow.com, and I'm very happy to be here today on behalf of Universal Audio. We're going to be having a look at the all-new Century Tube channel strip. All right, so I have the interface of the new Century Tube channel strip open on the screen here. Got a session pulled open inside of Studio One. This is Stella's song from Zach Jones and the Tricky Bits. Now, I'm going to hit play in just 1 second. I'm going to start from the second verse, but I just want to preface all this with I thought it would be a little bit more beneficial to show you what this plugin really sounds like on truly raw tracks where there's nothing going on. I've done plugin demos in the past where I might substitute something in and out on an already mixed song, and that's fine, but I feel like this is just going to give us the most authentic representation of what's going on here under the hood. So we'll have a look at it, go over the features, have a listen to what it sounds like. First, I'm going to hit play. As you can see, everything is really unmixed, okay? There's really not a lot going on. I do have some parallel compression on the drum. We're using a Fatso on that guy, followed up by an API 550A for a little parallel EQ. And what else? We have an 1176 on the drum bus. And that's really it, all right? As you can see, there's kind of nothing going on up here on the virtual mix rack. The only thing I'm using this for is the VCC and the trim tool. So that's about it. Got a couple things on my tube bus, like my good old trusty API 2500 from UAD and a couple other goodies, but for the most part, that is it. All right, so it's raw, second verse, Zach Jones and the Tricky Bits, Stella's song. Here we go.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass of wine. Don't let our fingers intertwine. Don't let me linger when we touch. Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing beneath the stars, and I could kill the man who told you you don't deserve the love that's pouring from my heart.
All right, gang, let's have a peek at the interface here. Very cleanly laid out. Everything's easy to read, which I appreciate. It's not too big. It's not too small. Now, it kind of reminds me of like four 500 series modules next to each other, which is, very easy to sort of look at, and it just makes sense. So we have our preamp on the left, followed by an EQ going into an optical compressor, and then we have our master section over here. So on the preamp, you have two settings, low and high for your input. We have our overall level control down here. You can switch between a mic and a line input, which is great. You have a high-pass filter, which starts sloping off around 80 hertz. You have your phase flip here, your polarity, whatever you want to call it. And then you have a negative 20 dB pad. Very, very helpful. When I was talking to my friends at Universal Audio, I kind of got the 411 as to what all these little modules are, although they're very hush-hush on what's under the hood, and I don't really care. Does it sound good? And yes, it does. But the pre is based on the Universal Audio, the 610B preamp, which is one of my favorites. I have the hardware version right here in front of me. Great pre. The EQ, which we get to next, is what was described to me as a British-style EQ. It's very musical. And look, and I don't really care which British, whatever. Does it sound good? Yes. We have three bands, all right? So we have a high shelf, a low shelf, and then we have a bell in the mid band. Something that I really like about this EQ is they chose very musical frequencies for the shelves. 10K on top, 110 hertz on the bottom. And those are frequencies I really like and I really use often. The 110 on the bottom is great if you want to, boost some kick or some bass, some low end. And then on top, that 10K can, it's very musical to give you some nice shine, a little bit of brightness on top without sounding harsh. In the middle here, we have a fully sweepable bell from 300 hertz to 7.2. So very usable, and no Q functions or anything like that. It's just one of those. This is one of those plugins where it's bulletproof to use. You kind of can't really get it to sound bad. That's the EQ in a nutshell. Then we go into this optical compressor here, which is based off of an LA3A, which I was kind of surprised to hear. But I like that. The LA3A that I use from UAD is an older plugin of theirs. I use it all the time on electric guitars and vocals. It's kind of a sweet spot for me there. So I'm excited to have a little bit of an updated version of that. So we only have a compression knob, which acts as a threshold, fixed ratio, attack, and release. I kind of find the compressor to react, it's program dependent, if you will. Like, depending on what you're compressing, it'll sort of react a little bit differently. And this last module here is just the master section. So you have your output knob, you can level match, you can, add a little bit of gain to something, whatever you want to do. Now, I have this on my drum level, which for lack of going down a rabbit hole is pretty much my drum bus. So I'm going to solo this up. We'll take a listen to the drums, and then we'll start moving some of these knobs around, see what it sounds like. So right away, what I'm noticing is that it sounds really, really big. It's tough using buzzwords like big, punchy, fat, warm, because they mean different things to different people. But the thing that I like about this plugin is it stays tight on the bottom when you drive the level. So to me, this is very much like plugging into a great tube amp, a guitar tube amp or a bass tube amp, where you don't have a master volume knob, and I kind of prefer stuff with just one volume knob. So, like for example, like that's a 67 Bassman head, and I mean you have volume, treble, and bass, right? So, you want more, you turn it up. You want it to get a little bit dirtier, you turn it up. You want to clean it up, you back off. Very simply put, it's the more volume you drive into the tubes and the transformers, you're going to get more breakup. You're going to get more of that analog vibe. And, it's a beautiful thing. It's very, very easy to use that way. But what happens is with some of these plugins, they can fall apart once you push them beyond a certain point. So with this, it really holds up to whatever you throw at it. And, I just sort of appreciate that in a plugin. Can also get really, really dirty, but like a usable dirty, which is cool. Anywhere from just a little bit of hair, a little bit of warmth, to all the way, raging full-on distortion. See what I mean? How even though it just sounds like the end of the world, it's not falling apart. Like it's still staying tight, and I mean that's a great thing. Let's push this up to high, and this is gonna get pretty wild. Make sure I don't blow you guys out. So right, you're just hearing all of that warm, fat analog goodness. Very, very cool on drums. Let's hear this EQ a little bit. So I brought in a little bit of the compressor there. Now, I wouldn't personally use an optical compressor on a drum bus. It's just not my thing. If you guys dig it, that's cool. But, I could see some use for this maybe on, a Tom's bus or something like that. But I find the optical compression really shines on bass, on vocals, things like that. But I hope you got to hear the EQ a little bit. What's great about that 10K is you can really crank it and it just never gets harsh. It can get bright, but harsh, I wouldn't really associate that word with it. And I appreciate this fully sweepable midband here. I think they did a really good job on the EQ. So let me show you what this sounds like on the bass. And this is one of the areas where it really excites me because, this isn't a plugin that you're gonna want to throw on every single track. It's a little too warm, fat, and gooey for that. I suppose you could, but I could see this more on a bass bus, on a lead vocal, on an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, things like that. So on the bass, we have a DI and an amp track. We'll let you hear what that sounds like with nothing on it. So it's a really good blend of the DI and the amp, and when it sounds good, all I want is, usually that, just with a little bit more. This was something I dialed in before. I'll let you hear this. I think this sounds pretty monstrous on the bass. Check it out. Man, it just breaks up so well. Very, very amp-like. Let's turn this guy off. And then here I have another one set up. Default. Well, let's see what we got. I mean, how do you go wrong with that? Just that tube pre for me is it's just instant good on there. What's cool about this EQ is I find that it's very easy to dial in some of that neck articulation on a bass with this mid bell. Check it out. Right? It just really brings that fingerboard sound to life. The 10K up top, it's just the bass just doesn't really get up there frequency-wise, but let's roll a little bit of this compression in. So it really allows us to just kind of poke out, especially if you want to make your bass dirty. This is going to be your new buddy. Let's just take the compressor out. Check out the grit you can get from this. a situation where I think this is going to be extremely useful and helpful to some folks is when they get a session to mix, they only have a bass DI track. What they can do, or what you can do, is duplicate your DI and make sure everything's good and in phase, because that can get squirrely sometimes, but make sure your phase is good, and then put this on your second duplicated track, get it really dirty, and you can make that DI sound very, very amp-like with this. I love the tube pre on the bass. Let's have a quick listen to the vocals and see how this sounds on the lead. Here it is with nothing on.
Don't let me linger when we touch. Don't let me light your cigarette and make you blush. Don't pour that second glass of wine. Don't let our fingers intertwine. And don't let me linger when we touch.
Now the vocal sounds really good, but we can certainly goose the pre a little bit here, give it some tube love. It can give it some shine with that 10K shelf, a little bit of presence, something like that. So let's push some knobs.
Don't let me linger when we touch.
I haven't even done anything there. I just turned it on, and I feel like it's already lifting it quite a bit.
Don't let me linger when we touch.
Let's go to a different spot here.
Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing neath the stars, and I could kill the man who told you.
So, it just really works. Let's flip this high pass on and see if we can just get rid of any low-end rumble.
Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing neath the stars, and I could kill the man who told you. You don't deserve the love that's pouring from my heart. Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing neath the stars, and I could kill the man who told you.
Man, that's not bad for having one plug-in on the vocal, doing a tiny, tiny bit of EQ, a pinch of compression, and just running it through that great pre. For the most part, this is going to serve you well on just about all types of tracks you're going to have in your session. All right, last up here, I thought it'd be fun to sort of hear what the preamps sound like coming in and out on multiple tracks. I mix with all buses, which are essentially VCAs. I just use buses because you can put inserts on them instead of having a VCA, where you can't. All drums, all percussion, low end, all music, all vocals, all effects. They are these guys here. And what I've done is I've opened the Century Tube channel strip. I've put it on and I've done nothing. It's just as it is when it opens. I'm going to flick it on and off just so you can hear what that tube pre is doing with a little bit of a cumulative effect. Blue means the plugin is on and black means it's off. We'll start with it off. We'll bring it in and out so you can hear what it does. Here we go.
So don't let me say it, Stella dear. The word on my lips, but don't you bend an ear until the day it starts to ring in with the melody that I've been singing. Then I can say it, Stella Blue. Then I can say that I love you.
Let's hear it from the chorus real quick.
Although I want so much to hold you, take you dancing beneath the stars, and I could kill the man who told you. You don't deserve the love that's pouring from my heart.
right, so pretty cool there. You can really hear what it's doing. It's giving it a little bit of lift, a little bit of pop, warmth. And again, look, these are buzzwords and these mean different things to different people. But the best way for you to really hear what this plugin does is go ahead, check out the 14-day free trial, fully functional free trial that you get with your Universal Audio rig. I think you guys are going to dig this one, okay? I do not personally love and use all the UAD channel strips. I was a little bit disappointed with the Manly Voxbox personally, but I really like this. I love the API and the SSL and the Neve and all that stuff, but I was actually pleasantly surprised with the Century. I saw it come out and I was kind of like, another channel strip, okay. But I checked it out and I wound up really liking it. You guys know that I only do plugin reviews of plugins that I like and or use. And this certainly falls into that category. All right, guys, that's it for me. My name is Pete with MixBetterNow.com. This has been a little review, kind of first thoughts of the new Century Tube channel strip from the good folks at Universal Audio. Check out the demo, like I said before. I think you guys are going to like this one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. If you guys like this video, make sure you subscribe. Hit the little bell notification next to the subscribe button. And as always, I hope you have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.